So kind of a cool thing that's been happening in recent years is before probably the 2010s and beforehand, we had only gone into like mainstream things. We had only not wanted to go past what things that are popular. So if we're talking things in general, we look at like cars back when they first started. You look at Ford and stuff, and you didn't really have any kind of like side markets that were coming in and taking over the competition because what happened is we became so accustomed to things that were popular that we didn't accept, things that might be cool that no one else had because we just wanted to be part of the crowd. We kind of wanted to get into that mob mentality thing of everyone believes it, I'm going to believe it. And for better or worse, it kind of guided trends over the past few decades. But one of the things that's been happening the past couple of years is this thing called indies. So indie, for those of you who've never heard of the term before, can be anything from video games, board games, or anything in general. And what it basically means is that it's the category that goes aside from popularity or mainstream items. So, for example, there's some websites online that people go and post their idea, like, "Hey, I'm gonna invent this new video game from my company of like 20 people." But obviously, we're not going to have the funding to get that done. So they're going to go and they're going to put the idea down on this website and they're going to ask for funding. And then the cool thing that's been happening is a lot of people have actually been willing to put their money in for these ideas to come to fruition. So we have a lot of different board games, video games, and etc. that have been coming out, thanks in part to people funding these indie ideas. And to be honest, some of the indie ideas that have came out and gone actually on the market have been really cool, because if you think about it logically, if we only go with something popular, so if we only stay with Apple or Samsung phones, for example, and we never go into the side market, we never know what cool things could be out there that Apple or Samsung have never quite heard of or even thought of before. Because we're all different, we all come up with different things, and to say that popular markets again like Apple or Samsung have got all the ideas down would be stupid, because they only have so many people and those people can only have so many ideas. So when you go and you fund these indie things, like, sure, of course there can always be some really stupid things that happen, or in some cases, like for example, there was a video game that came out called No Man's Sky, and it was an indie game. A lot of people put money into it because they thought it was going to be awesome. And then when they came out, it kind of looked like the company had just taken the money for themselves and came out with like a very unfinished product. And sure, when you get into a market like that, those things can happen. But for the most part, I like the idea that society has come to the point where we can look and say, these ideas are cool and these ideas are not mainstream. So I'm going to go fund it and I'm going to give them a chance to get their idea out on the market. Because normally, we would have never had these things happen before. Everyone would have been too scared to kind of go out of their comfort zone and think about, hey, this is cool, but it's not popular. It's not what the person next door to me is doing, so I'm not going to do it. But now we've come to a point actually to where indie can become even popular than some of the mainstream items on the market, and hopefully in the future, that trend will continue to develop, and that maybe one day, indies can become as mainstream as things today we consider as really popular. Because like I said, no idea is perfect. There's always room for improvement, and sometimes the people with the greatest minds are the people that aren't working, in those Fortune 500 companies. They're the people that are, kind of skimming at the bottom because they really haven't had that push or that extra help to help get them to where they need to be. And when we give them that opportunity, sure, they can trash the opportunity and stuff, but at least we give them the opportunity. Because if we want to talk about how we're going to give each other, opportunities to succeed and different ideas to where the market's just, you pick this one or you pick this one and there's nothing in between, we need to be able to give people the opportunity to go in between, or else no one's going to want to do it. If I go on the market to make a new phone and I only see Apple or Samsung, I'll keep going back to this example because it's easy for everyone to relate to. I'm not going to be able to get into the market when, there's no phone in between. If I've only seen an Apple or a Samsung phone, I have no idea how I'm going to be able to get into the market competitively if I go in the middle, because there hasn't been any successful middle phones. But if we give people the opportunity, if we give them the chance to, let's say, make a phone that maybe is not as successful as you want it to be, but shows that, it's possible for people to buy phones on the market that are in the middle, then that's good. And you see it nowadays, just small things. Like I said, board games and video games are probably the two biggest examples of how an indie market can actually become competitive, is because you can give the product out, and then the right person reviews it or publishes it on YouTube or any other platform, and then you see, like, thousands upon thousands and millions potentially of people get to see this product, and now they want to try it too, because now they've seen someone popular do it, and now you've seen a indie thing that never would have come on the market. No one would have ever heard of it before, but now, because it got into the right hands, it's going to be on the market. You'll be able to play it, you're going to be able to use it, and it creates a much better economy, because you can't just have two things. You can't just have one or the other. You have to have many different sorts of things to actually have a competitive market, because or else it's just going to be monopolies. We're going to have, oh, you're going to do this one or this one, and then maybe one day they're going to come together and it's going to be one massive market where you're just only going to be able to buy from one market. And that's stupid, because we like to have choices, because everyone's not going to want to just have one thing or the other. Some people, for special reasons or personal reasons or whatnot, are going to have just some special thing. And if we want to be, as diverse as we can in our ideas and what we use, we got to start helping, somewhere or another. Maybe, you don't have the money to put in to an indie project, but maybe you can just spread the word. And you're like, oh, I saw this indie product on the market. I'm going to go share it to my Facebook page, whatever. Even if you only have 5 friends or whatever, that's 5 people that get to see that idea. And when we start sponsoring these indie ideas, these ideas that are away from what people would consider as popular, we would start to become, not just better intellectually, but we begin to say that, hey, everyone's opinion matters. And when that happens, we become much more successful and thriving as a community.